Am I worried about it? Damn right. My recovery time could be 10 to 16 weeks.
When season 7 of 1,000 Pound Sisters premiered with its first episode titled The Family Secrets Explode, fans tuned in expecting the usual chaos Amy and Tammy bickering, Chris cracking jokes while trying to be the glue, Amanda barging in with her sharp one-liners, but what they got was a full-blown scandal documentary more than a family weight loss reality show. And from the first frame, TLC made it clear the narrative had shifted. This was no longer about diets and pounds, but about survival. Survival of relationships, reputations, and even survival of health. Opening shots of Dixon, Kentucky painted a stormy, foreboding atmosphere, with gray skies and ominous sound design. And against that backdrop, Tammy's chilling words were heard. Everyone thinks they know the truth, but they don't. This family has darker secrets than anyone can imagine, instantly setting the stage for a new kind of season. One built on secrets and detonations rather than encouragement and recovery. And almost immediately the episode dove into Amy's unraveling, a far cry from the woman who had once been praised for her weight loss, marriage, and motherhood journey. The cameras followed her into a home littered with toys, dirty laundry spilling over baskets, fast food wrappers across the couch, her baby Glenn crying from the playpen while her older son Gage acted out, Amy herself pacing, exhausted, hair messy, eyes dark from lack of rest. And then came the phone call that broke the facade, her voice, harsh and irate, lashed out at someone on the other end. "You have no right to tell me how to raise my kids. You already took everything from me? You think I'm scared of the court? I'm not giving up my children." The editors made sure viewers noticed a stack of official-looking envelopes on the counter. One stamped with a county court system return address, another marked notice. Clear indicators this wasn't just about household mess, but legal trouble. Amy's confessional cut in, mascara streaked, voice cracking as she admitted, "I never thought I'd be sitting here afraid my boys might be taken away. Maybe they're right when they call me a bad mom." And with that admission, the image of Amy as the strong one shattered. Meanwhile, Tammy's return from recovery was packaged as a celebration with balloons and a welcome home Tammy sign. But she wheeled into the house with her oxygen tank and a sharp tongue instead of gratitude, hugging her siblings stiffly, and later mocking the camera privately. "They're all fake, acting like they're glad to see me, but they still think I'm the problem." Well, guess what? They've all got skeletons, Amy, Chris, every one of them. And I'm going to expose it. And right there, the season's meaning shifted from her redemption to collective exposure, as she later snapped at Amy during a family catch-up in the living room, dismissing Amy's joke with venom. "At least it wasn't you screaming all the time. You're not fooling anyone with your good mom act. Everybody knows what you've been doing." Leaving the room in frozen silence, producers deliberately letting the tension sit for 10 long seconds. Reality TV gold. Chris, long seen as the grounded comic relief, was unmasked too when a family dinner about money spiraled. Amy complaining of medical bills, Tammy accusing her siblings of using her fame, and Chris slamming his fork down, shouting that nobody knew how much he'd done to keep the show alive. Bragging that without his secret negotiations, TLC would have left years ago. Hinting darkly at things he'd done that the others didn't want to know. Then storming out, later filmed meeting a shadowy man outside a bar. Snippets of audio catching words like cash, contract, don't tell them. The man's face blurred, leaving viewers to speculate whether Chris was selling family secrets to producers or tabloids. Amanda, usually the fiery comic, stunned fans when she broke down on camera, knitting between tears that the family was disintegrating, confessing she was afraid one of them wouldn't survive the season, a statement underscored by haunting background music that made it feel less metaphor and more chilling prophecy. And the family dinner climaxed with Tammy ripping off her oxygen tube and screaming, "I don't care if I die tomorrow. Least I'll die honest. You're all phonies." Storming into the cold night while producers and crew chased her, cameras shaking, The episode cutting to black with eerie text. The Slaton family faces their darkest secrets yet. Not everyone will survive, but even after that, the cameras. Cut back to Amy's crumbling house, her children crying. Amy herself unraveling as she ranted that she'd carried the family, endured the divorce. CPS breathing down her neck, unpaid bills, online hate, while Tammy now played the saint, ending her confessional with a venomous jab. If people knew the truth about Tammy, they wouldn't call me the bad guy. A direct threat mirrored by Tammy later whispering on her porch. Tears drying into a smirk as she scrolled through. Blurred phone messages containing words like money, lawyer, custody, telling the camera with eerie calm, "I keep receipts, don't play with me." While Amy was shown opening another official envelope and collapsing as she read aloud the words. Custody review notice of hearing. Confessing that losing her boys would mean losing everything. Tammy then cornering Amy in the kitchen, threatening to reveal what really happened last summer. Amy trembling and begging her not to. Tammy smirking that it might be none of her business, but it was the world's, implying she had proof. Amy nearly breaking down in terror. While Amanda finally confronted Chris on the porch, demanding to know about his secret dealings. Chris, defensively snapping that he did what was necessary to keep TLC's money flowing, confessing on camera that he had indeed talked to producers, sponsors, even reporters, feeding them stories for leverage and cash. Not sorry for betraying their trust because it kept the show alive. Amanda gasping and accusing him of betrayal. Then later crying in her confessional that the family was doomed. Tammy threatening, Chris selling secrets, Amy about to lose her kids. Admitting she no longer felt safe with her own blood, predicting again that one of them might die before it was over. TLC heightening the horror with ominous music, and the chaos escalated to the point where producers stepped in on camera, trying to calm everyone down, warning the neighbors were calling the police. Fueling fan theories about whether the show nearly triggered police intervention. As the night ended with Amy retreating upstairs with her children, Tammy sulking in her room, whispering they're scared of me. Good? Chris disappearing into the dark, Amanda sobbing alone on the couch. The next morning showing Amy haggard with coffee in hand, scrolling her phone and admitting she sometimes wished she could take her kids and disappear, but couldn't because of the court. While Tammy stayed locked in her room, declaring the others should fear her, and Chris once again meeting his mysterious contact, exchanging documents and packets that looked suspiciously like contracts or payoffs. The episode closing with cliffhangers, Galorme reading a new letter and whispering, "Oh God." No. Tammy telling someone on the phone, "I'm ready." They won't see this coming. Chris warning producers that if the truth came out, the whole show was over. Amanda staring dead into the camera saying, "This ain't a family no more, it's a war zone." And final text flashing. The lies start to unravel next week. The Slatons can't hide forever. Leaving fans stunned that what began as a weight-loss series had morphed into a raw portrait of scandal, betrayal, and the possible destruction of a family on national television. With every sibling armed with secrets capable of destroying the others and no sign of reconciliation in sight. Only a season promising darker revelations, deeper betrayals, and the chilling possibility that Amanda's prediction, one of them, not making it out alive, might come true before the credits roll on season 7.
Guys, decorate some shoes for our next steps in our lives. Talk to you guys later. Have a nice day. Bye.
In the world the audience thought they knew, built one upload, one confession, one hospital hallway at a time. The LB sisters were the raw, unvarnished souls who stumbled in public and somehow kept standing until a winter night in Dixon, Kentucky, when red and blue lights washed over clapboard siding and the rumor mill outpaced the wind. And what some called an arrest and others insisted was a misunderstanding snapped through the fandom with the suddenness of ice cracking on a farm pond. In this telling, the one born from whispers, reports, and the kind of half-truths that make reality TV both irresistible and dangerous. The story begins with neighbors peeking from frosted windows and a squad car idling while an officer's radio murmured. Inside, Amy moved in a blur of fear and indignation. A mother with 2 boys' toys scattered across a living room that smelled faintly of reheated fries and dryer sheets, saying to someone just off camera, "This isn't what it looks like." While a second voice firmer procedural replied, "Ma'am, we need you to step back while we finish." And the air grew tight with the sense that a routine search had discovered something more. The sort of illegal substances that, whether in crumbs or grams, change the way strangers say your name. By morning, the rumor hardened into a narrative the internet felt free to sculpt. Possession, maybe intent, a bond paid. A booking photo that didn't exist but lived nonetheless in the imagination of 1,000 thumbnails, and a figure that became shorthand for shame $2,000 called just a fine in some threads and a scarlet letter in others. While a source close to the sister's side to a blogger, wrong place, wrong time. Wrong people. She is not a dealer, and the crowd decided, as crowds do, that the police report said otherwise because it didn't say enough. And yet the loudest silence belonged to TLC, the network that had turned bickering and bravery into ratings. That now posted nothing, said nothing, offered no as a network. Nor we stand by. Nor even we are monitoring the situation. Just reran old episodes where the stakes felt smaller even when they were life and death. A non-statement that sounded like strategy and tasted like abandonment and forums. Split down ordinary lines those who once saw themselves in. Amy's messy resilience and those who crowed that they always knew TV families were just carefully edited disasters. So that one Facebook post read, "I defended her through bad relationships and all that CPS gossip, but this is different," and another countered, "She's underpaid, overwatched, and drowning." While a third, colder voice typed, "2 boys needed a mom last night and she chose chaos." And in the space between those keystrokes sat Gage and Glenn, ages 4 and 2, separated by only 26 months and an ocean of adult mistakes not fully theirs. And because nothing feeds discourse like children at risk, the acronym CPS turned from a policy office into a spectral presence haunting comment sections. With a local anchor citing a lawyer who said on air, "The illegal substances are alleged in a home with minors, an inquiry is almost automatic." And the fandom took that conditional and made it a verdict. Posting sightings of agents at Amy's door that could have been a delivery driver and a cousin in a quilted jacket. Muttering temporary placement with family while someone else swore they saw the boys with Tammy, and the idea of custody never simple. Never settled became a cudgel. Exhibit A. Wrote one armchair attorney if Michael files for full custody. While an actual legal voice on a call-in show warned in family court. A misdemeanor can loom larger than a felony if a judge believes the pattern is dangerous. Soundbite replayed so often it became prophecy. Meanwhile, Amy did the one thing reality audiences cannot forgive. She went quiet. No Instagram lives, no TikToks, no cameos with offhand sunshine. Just a blurry gas station snap from a paparazzo who sold a caption that read, "She looks like." This broke her by 10 years, and the same fans who had loved her confessional tears now wrote, "Where is accountability?" As if a mother's apology could be mailed like a thank you note, Tammy, whose storms had been televised and whose recovery had been doubted and then applauded with fragile hope, found herself ambushed by questions she didn't ask to carry. Did you know? Did you warn her? Are the boys safe? And for a while she kept a hard shell of no comment around a soft center of worry. Texting cousins, checking on the kids, hauling air into lungs that once refused to stretch. Until one late night Instagram live that wasn't meant to be a press conference but became one anyway. The sort of grainy, lamp-lit monologue where the TV is a square of moving blue in the corner and a heart counter bounces up like a pulse. And she said, "I can't hold it in anymore." Not as a scold, but as a confession. And the comments erupted. Is this about Amy? Please don't betray your sister, and she did what families do when the house is on fire. She told a truth that singed everyone, saying it didn't come out of nowhere. It started with stress and no sleep and terrible friends. I told her, you have 2 boys, don't risk this. But Amy is hard-headed. And then, softer, as if trying to avoid a curse. The night it happened, I knew where she was going, who she was with, and I didn't stop her. I thought she'd learn on her own, which landed like a stone in a pondripples of rage from those who demanded intervention. Ripples of compassion from those who remembered Tammy's own edges, and a new schism that turned sister against sister in thumbnail court where moderators could not keep up. Still, within that tremor was a lifeline, because Tammy's voice cut through rumor to the square inch of reality. This was not glamorous, not a curated spiral, but the slow leak of a mother emptied by fatigue and fame. And some heard in it the first step of a family plan. At least she's honest, wrote one viewer. Maybe this is how they get Amy help, while others hissed, honesty is not a GoFundMe for consequences. And the narrative braided itself tighter. An arrest. Whispered, a fine tallied, a network mute, a fandom split, and 2 boys asleep in a room that felt smaller than the internet. Michael Halterman, who had once been a husband on camera and a headline off it, found his name trending again as a useful villain or an unlikely savior, depending on which thumbnail you tapped. He will go for full custody, tweeted an account, with a gavel emoji, while a quieter voice wrote, "He's always wanted what he thinks is stable." And a family law analyst on a podcast murmured, "It's courts like boring. And right now, boring looks like no Tommy." And still, through all of it, Amy's feed stayed dark. A blank square that some read as arrogance and others as legal counsel. The kind of silence that says, I am listening to my lawyer, and also, I can't bear to hear myself through your comments. Because the same audience that once applauded her resilience now demanded a mea culpa in a meme. Then came the story within the story. The unstated calculus of production. Because the Pound sisters did not exist in a vacuum, but in a machine that extracts pain like a mineral. And while TLC remains silent in public no posts, no captions, we stand with families in crisis. The cameras, according to whispers, kept gliding. And an editor somewhere storyboarded a cold open of flashing lights and an off-screen sob. Because reality TV feeds on cliffhangers. And the question metastasized. Would the network spin this into a redemption arc or a termination notice? A spin-off? For Tammy or a timeout for both? And which choice would feel like compassion rather than exploitation? And was there even such a choice? The hatred grew algorithmic TikTok dramatizations with novelty sirens. YouTube essays that used words like arc, narrative collapse, parasocial breach. And Facebook aunties who typed in all caps about the children, while a smaller, stubborn pocket of fans refused to burn their posters, writing, "She's human, not a rehab brochure." And the last thing a drowning person needs is a crowd shouting how water works.